Welcome to the latest edition of Last World Boxing, joined by regular Sean from Brighton. How are you going, Sean, on this Sunday afternoon?
Yeah, good thanks, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, not bad, apart from the debacle, which has been the boxing over the weekend. Thank God we got Catherine next week, right? A proper fight.
Yes.
But I suppose we should break down Wilder, and then on a future video, there'll be a Jake Paul one just for Ander on the channel, because we know he loves him. So Sean, Wilder versus Herndon. I did a video on Thursday with Mickey and Brett where we broke it down. Wilder ran out winner, TKO round 7, but I'll just give you my thoughts quickly first. I thought it was a poor spectacle. And I actually thought it was worse than I thought it was going to be honest. There's quite a few question marks. Malik Scott not being in his corner, what's happened there? So give us your breakdown, how you thought it went.
Yeah, I agree. I have to say, I think it's completely shot. To be honest, probably a premature stoppage, but I think it was only going to go one way. The opponent was obviously quite limited and wasn't very good at the end of the day. But yeah, Wilder looks slow, sloppy, hasn't got the power he once had. Not much going for him, to be honest. And they're speaking about a potential AJ fight. I think that's almost suicide for Wilder at this stage.
Do you think this is Do you think this is a scenario where Turki Al-Sheikh has said to Wilder, look, we need to get a win in the column before to get people excited about the potential AJ fight? Do you think this was a bit of a gimme to get him back inside his good books?
I mean, if it was, it hasn't worked because he looks horrendous in my opinion. So yes, that could be the case. But
You
I
could
just
argue, Sean, you could argue his stock has fallen rather than risen, right? Because at least before this part, there's a bit of a question mark about has he still got it or hasn't he? Has he just had a few bad fights? But now it's conclusive, right? It's absolutely conclusive.
yeah, yeah, definitely, Carl. I would say so. I mean, there's there's no jeopardy in the fight for anyone really because he's just going to be a sitting duck. We've seen now he hasn't really got a decent chin, so any heavyweight that can slip his punches of evade him and land on him, he's just going to go. So 5, 6 years ago, the AJ fight was massive. It was a fight we all wanted to see, wasn't it? But at this stage in both their careers, although I would argue AJ's got a lot more left than Wilder, I think for Wilder, it's just yeah, coming to the end, and he's just sort of plateauing out with a bit of a whimper, I'm afraid.
I mean, he started off behind the jab again, and I've gone into bat, as you know, on the channel on a few occasions when people hammer him for his boxing skills. And I have to remind people he did go to the Olympics and get a silver. So
Yeah,
in yesteryear, people hammered him for his boxing skills. Yes, he's a bit unorthodox, but he always had that right hand. But he was pulling the trigger once on Friday night, but like you say, it just didn't have the same effect, right? It's gone, hasn't it? Whatever that was is gone.
yeah. I mean, speaking of sort of heavyweights that won Olympic medals and flattered to deceive, I think David Price won the bronze, didn't he? And
Well
and look how
done.
he sort of yeah, yeah. So there's definitely precedent for that. But yeah, as you say, yeah, he was pulling the trigger, but just nothing now. I mean, as I'm sure you know, and the viewers know, they always say the last thing that goes is the power for a fighter, and his power's gone. So what has he got left, really?
And it's just his shape as well, Monty Shaw. I mean, he was never the most technical of fighters anyway, but at points in that fight on Friday night, it looked dreadful, didn't it? It looked,
Yeah,
it really
yeah.
did.
At some stages, it looked like he never put a pair of boxing gloves on in his life. I felt during the
Yeah.
fight. So yeah, it's a bit sad to see. I don't know if he's doing it purely for financial reasons. I'm guessing so. But you would think someone in his team or someone close to him would just have a word and say, "Your time's done." I'm afraid.
Yeah, because I mentioned on Thursday night on the preview show of it, his story of why he started boxing is really humbling, right? And credit to him
Yeah.
because his daughter and etc. But you'd hope that financially now he'd have enough money in the bank to take care of her for the rest of her life, right? So I do hope he's
Yeah.
not coming on for finances. Although Sean saying that, if Saudi Arabia offering you a big bag of money to continue, it is difficult to say no, right?
Yeah, well, I'm guessing he was sure and life changing money with the Fury trilogy, And I guess it comes down to with a lot of people. I mean, we'll never be in the position, I don't think. But how much money do you really need at the end of the day when it comes to your health? We know how unforgiving this sport is.
Yeah.
So they definitely should consider that in this instance, I think.
Because when I was talking to Mick and Brett on Thursday, channels up on the videos up on the channel, by the way, anyone wants to see it. We were saying that the Wilder that fought in the third Fury fight, that fighter gives the majority of heavyweights problems, right? Because he performed really well in that fight, and it was only a peak Tyson Fury that put him to bed that night. However,
Yeah,
this is a shadow of that fight, isn't it?
yeah. I don't think it's a coincidence that he's been not the same since the trilogy. I think that took everything out of him. I think both physically and mentally, because of course there was a whole arbitration and everything like that in between as well.
Yeah.
So I think that really drained him both physically and mentally, and I think, you know, given the third fight, he did hit Fury with his best punches and he did put him down a couple of times.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that created a big sort of set of self-doubt and self-disbelief in him and his power. And I think subsequently we've seen that in his fights he's had since.
Yeah, I just hope he has a long, hard look in the mirror and you know that he's honest with himself regarding what that level of performance was on Friday, or he's going to tarnish his legacy. That's all I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you saw it, I'm sure you did, mate, but he came out and said that he wants to be on the road to become undisputed, which is just the biggest non-starter ever, I think.
Yeah, I think that's bravado, isn't it? Let's be honest. But
Yeah.
okay, so Sean, what we did on Thursday, and you got the hindsight of having watched the fight on Friday night, whereas Mick and Brett didn't. I've got a list of approximately 20 fighters here, and all I want you to do is off the cuff, just yes or no, would Wilder beat these fighters? Okay?
Sure.
And anybody who wants to see what Mick and Brett said, again, the channel's up on the channel. The video's up on the channel. It's been a long day. So here we go, Sean. Yuri Fury.
Yes.
Fraser Clark.
Yes.
David Adelaide.
Yes.
Moses Atama.
No.
Dillian White.
No.
Derek Chisora.
No.
Jared Anderson.
No.
Baby Miller.
Yes.
Lawrence Akola.
No.
Ergovich.
No, I don't think so.
AJ.
No.
Caballero.
No.
Wardler.
No.
Bacola.
No.
Frank Sanchez.
Yes.
Michael Hunter.
No.
Joe Joyce.
Oh, just about. Yes.
Andy Ruiz Jr.
No.
Jolalov.
No.
Pulev.
Yes.
Okay, that's this. So you're very different. Obviously, you got the hindsight of having watched the fight on Friday. Obviously, we might have been in a slightly different place Thursday night. Okay, so comments in the comment box below. Agree or disagree with anything that me and Sean have said. We welcome your comments. Live Thursday night as ever. This has been Last Ball Boxing, proudly sponsored by LW Liftings and SC Travel. Thank you very much, Sean, and we'll see you on the next video.